Hello, hello, hello. Assalamu alaikum. Ji anu. Pakhair agale. Ni hao. Chune shumme. Washmale. Ohio Gonzaimes. Guten Morgen. Hola. Bonjour. Privyet. Kaifahal. Hale shumma chatore. Ahlan wasalan. Marhaba. Buna. Mucho. Gracias. And a very amazing good morning to everybody who's tuned into PTV World and watching World this morning alongside Shazad Khan. Ladies and gentlemen, today the day is Tuesday, and I definitely hope that everybody's actually catching up with their routine. Because earlier today, when I was about to leave my place for work, I was in conversation with my mother, and I actually asked her because she's habitual of going out for a walk early in the morning, right after a Fajr prayer. So I asked her whether you went out for a walk or not. And then she said, "Oh, these days it's just a little difficult for me to get up." And I was like, "Why? Why is it difficult?" And then she was like, since it's for Ramadan and, we had to wake up early and then, go back to bed. So probably I'm not in my routine. So I definitely hope and wish that everybody out there is actually within their routines by now as well. Because last night, yesterday when I was here in the studios as well, it was a little difficult for me to catch up because, I really couldn't catch up on my sleep, because you wake up at night, throughout the Ramadan. So it was tough for me. But now, last night I decided that I'm going to be in the bed by 12. So I was, and today I feel perfectly fine. But today, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be a memorable day in the history of Pakistan as well, as the budget is set to be out today after the approval of the Prime Minister Imran Khan. But then at the same time, there are a few things which we needed to talk about, and that too from the perspective of a common man, just like me. I'm not an economist, but then at the same time, I think that everybody's actually looking out for the new budget, whether we are going to get a bit of relaxation or not. This is something which will be discussed probably after the budget too as well. But then there are a few reports which are out, and we wanted to talk about them as well. We've got a small report to share with you guys. Go ahead, take a listen to that. And when you guys will come back, we've got one of the best economists over here within the studios. He's actually going to share his views about the upcoming budget. Let's do that. Good morning.
Presenting its maiden budget is a tough task that this government is about to face coming Tuesday. It is a first real test for the current regime as it promised to steer the national economy out of doldrums in its manifesto. It goes without saying that ours is a country engulfed in economic crisis since its inception. However, the minimum demand of the people is to see gradual improvement in the overall scenario. It is quite difficult to guess what figures are to be presented in the form of budget, but keeping an eye on government's so far activities, one may get an overview of what is coming. Prime Minister Imran Khan not only announced to adopt austerity measures, but he actually kept his words. The simple and honorable approach of cutting the luxurious state dinners and royal spending in the ordinary meetings have helped in saving precious national exchequer. Besides, the government's decision of reducing the number of official visits abroad for ministers is also an important step. So far, the government has ably been maintaining its slogan for upgrading standard of living for commoners. Adding valuable amount in the form of health card and BISP are glaring examples of government's sincere approach. Pakistan Army's announcement of foregoing budget increase is another valuable step. Prime Minister Imran Khan has directed to utilize this money for Fatah and Balochistan. These may be small steps, but they show gradual maturity of behavior towards national cause. These are evident of fact that the government will surely remain realistic towards its approach for betterment of national economy.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, so that was a small report about budget. But then other than that, I think that it's about time that everybody literally needs to take advantage of the amnesty scheme and probably come out clean with the Benami accounts too as well. And the Prime Minister has actually urged everybody to do so. And I think that is going to benefit everybody. But other than that, just a few points before we get started and before I introduce my guests, ladies and gentlemen. The amount of this year's budget is going to be somewhat around 6,800 billion. Unfortunately, with a deficit of 3,000 billion too as well. I mean, these are the few things which we need to keep under consideration. And from a common man's perspective, I think what we need to do is that we really need to put or probably keep an eye on the type of performances the government has been given in the previous year as well. So coming down to the point where services industry actually is at an increase of 4.7%, but then at the same time, manufacturing sector slid down 2.3%. Two is not numeric 2, it's the TO2. And then the construction actually came down 7.6%, agriculture is up by 0.8%. And then, one way of saying is that no economic targets were achieved within the previous year as well, or the fiscal year. But then other than that, we have heard that, there's going to be an increase in the salary for people from grade 1 to the 16th as well. There'll be an additional deduction of tax of 4,950 rupees per month for people getting a salary of 100,000 rupees, and it is to increase for 200,000, 300,000. It's going to increase too as well. But then at the same time, there was a statement by Maryam Aurangzeb, and Maryam Aurangzeb actually said that, this is a budget actually designed by International Monetary Fund, which is wrong, which is not right as well. Because why? This is something which will be answered by our amazing guest over here, ladies and gentlemen. I've been very lucky that I've been joined by somebody who's actually the managing director of Tangent. He's none other than Mr. Faheem Sardar. Hello, assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Fine, thank you. I'm all right.
Good morning. It's good to have you.
No, thank you. Thank you.
Wonderful to have you. So, I'm going to get my conversation started where the opposition is actually not liking the idea of coming out clean as well, and probably, initially creating a little bit of chaos by giving out statements that the budget is actually designed by the IMF. Is it true?
Well, as you said, the answer lies in your question. Opposition is opposition. So, it's they have to say something. At the end of the day, the government has to manage the situation. That's what economics is about, applied economics. Pakistan's resources, Pakistan's expenditure, Pakistan's potential, there are three things that need to be discussed separately, and then you bring it back together. First, you deconstruct the problem, then you reconstruct it. So it's very easy to say that this is an IMF program, this is an IMF budget, this is a World Bank thought out, whatever. That's just a narrative, that's just filling in the airwaves.
Yeah.
The reality of the situation is that Pakistan has, for some reason, the State Bank of Pakistan decided to go contractionary.
Yeah.
And the inflation was not that high. We have been very, very vocal in our publications as a think tank and corporate advisor. We've been stressing the fact that we needed to be expansionary, not contractionary.
Okay.
Expansionary but prudent, not contractionary and passive. So there's a difference.
No, but if we talk about that as well, I think that the interest rates are actually skyrocketing too as well, and we have never ever, and that too in double figures.
Yeah.
So how do you think that it's going to have an impact on a common man?
Terrible, because what happens is in economics, in finance, if you start tinkering with the interest rate, the central interest rate, that just changes the economy totally. What's happened is that from 5.75% in January 2018, 25th January 2018 to be specific, our interest rate was at 5.75%, which now, as of now, 11th June 2019, 16 months later, is at 12.75%. So that's more than double. So why would the State Bank of Pakistan go into such a massive contractionary concept when we needed a faster economy?
Exactly.
Prudent but fast. Now, I'll try to explain this in another way, because the strange thing is, for the past 5 years, then the previous regime, sorry, I have to break that up, they were consistently bringing down the interest rate from 10% to 5.75%. Every year there was a small decrease in interest rate, so you could see the growth rate rising.
Okay.
Now suddenly, as soon as the State Bank of Pakistan increased the interest rates, our growth rate has come down to 3.3% this year, which last year was 5.8%. I'm talking about the GDP growth rate.
Yeah, and it was said to be at around 6 point some percent.
That was the target.
Yeah.
That was the target.
But for an economy which is actually not probably, because talking about the manufacturing sector, construction sector, agriculture sector, all of these sectors add up to our economy. So if all of these sectors are actually not growing, how do you think that the economy is going to grow too as well?
The economy cannot grow if you have a contractionary policy, where contractionary by definition means contractionary, bringing it back in instead of expansionary, which means going outwards.
Yeah.
You see, we've made it mutually exclusive. This interpretation by some people is that, I just feel, I cannot understand this. India is expansionary, even Afghanistan is expansionary, Sri Lanka is expansionary, Russia is expansionary. What possessed us, what what caused us to become contractionary. So as soon as you raise the interest rate, now the first thing is everything becomes expensive.
Yeah.
And
Almost
what made
everything.
it worse, was the fact that we just devalued our rupee like this.
Yeah.
In the same period that I said, from January 2018 to the present, we have devalued our rupee just shy of 30%. That is unthinkable. Imposing duties on excess imports
Yeah.
makes sense, and
Okay.
it's worked. However, killing demand, killing growth is not going to work. We should have maintained a growth rate of a minimum 5.5% and we started to become more prudent, which leads us to the next question, that the solution to our problems is governance, not stopping things.
All right.
Just to, before we get on to the next point, imagine if a car is accelerating. It was at 30 kilometers per hour, then goes up to 60, then goes to 100.
Yeah.
But it does have issues. You can feel the car vibrating.
Yeah.
So in order to stop the vibration, what we did was we just pulled the handbrakes at 100 kilometers
Yeah.
per hour. That's exactly, and we jammed the brakes. That's exactly what we did.
So are you referring to halting the economy?
Yes.
So then it's going to have an impact on the entire nation too, as well, out there.
Of course.
Because I've been in conversation before coming to the show, ladies and gentlemen. We did our own research. We have our own research as well. I was in conversation with people who actually had an import-export business. They said that it's at a halt. Then, I was in conversation with people who were manufacturers. They said that things are not going right. How do you think that, that we will make it look, at least, that, that it's right, or we're going in the right direction? Do you have any reservations onto the budget which is set to come out today?
Of course, I have reservations, constructive reservations.
Sure.
Excuse me. In order to achieve a budget which which has greater expenses,
Yeah.
you have to have some kind of more revenues.
Exactly.
Now, the existing government has to, at some point, they will look at this aspect. If you become extremely harsh or contractionary with your economy,
Yeah.
you cannot have a bigger budget.
Okay.
Simply not possible.
Yeah.
Had I been able to suggest, what I would have said was, number one, keep the economy open. Do not impose restrictions on people coming in or going out.
Yeah.
Real estate, for example. Why? So that you keep having transactions.
Exactly.
So you still get some kind of tax revenue. Okay. Slowly but surely tell people there will be a plan to bring everyone into documentation, to bring into more prudence, to bring in more transparency, to deal with FATF and all those issues. But suddenly applying the brakes is simply not possible. It's not possible to achieve anything if you suddenly become contractionary.
Yeah.
I do have reservations because if you look at the deficit that's coming up, can you imagine even our armed forces has said that we are going to we don't want any increase in our budget.
Yeah, they have a total budget of 1,250 billion, ladies and gentlemen, and it's the same as it was the previous year too as well. So I think that they're playing their role.
Yes, and I mean, it's a huge signal.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's always more than one way to skin a cat.
Yeah.
Maybe there was a better way to do it. In order to achieve more revenues, you need more transactions in the economy. Even if however they're done, just let them happen.
Yeah.
And as they happen, you generate more tax. That would have reduced the deficit that you just talked about.
I even want to talk about the expenditures too as well. Do you think that in the coming year the federal expenditure will actually be going down or probably going up? I mean, I certainly have no idea about that.
Theoretically, it will be going down, but practically it will be going up.
Yeah, so just the numbers on the paper will be down, and then eventually
Exactly.
it'll be going up too as well. So how do you think that the federal expenditure can be controlled?
I think the expenditure can be controlled by optimizing your existing operations.
Okay.
Now, just to put that into very simple language or simple practical
Yep.
application, it is governance. If you just improve your governance, suddenly things start to improve. I mean, you have right now according to the information available, one of the better governed situations is in Pakistan Post, which has started to reduce its deficit.
Wow.
That means revenue has risen. And they haven't done anything revolutionary.
Okay.
They just did simple, basic, good governance. Things that were not being looked at, they started looking at it. Things that needed to go extreme right, they took them from partial right to extreme right. So you don't have to, it's not rocket science. Every organization in the government is important, from the archives to the interior to the economic administration.
Yeah.
Every government organization is an expenditure center. It can become a revenue center as well, but that depends on how we address this one word called governance.
Okay, I will definitely come back to this one too as well. I want to talk about governance, where I'm going to give you a reference of, as in usually within the governments, it is the minister's responsibilities to come up with such ideas.
Yep.
But over here we see a team of technocrats and bureaucrats coming up with such economic, marvelous ideas too as well. Now, do you think that there's a dearth of talent within the elected ministers, or do you think that technocrats or bureaucrats can do a wonderful job or better than the ones elected?
That's a very interesting question, Shahzad.
I mean, that's how it is. I'm sorry, I have to do my job.
No, of course, of course. And I think as far as, if I can just rephrase your question, if you allow me.
Yeah, sure.
I think, does Pakistan have talent? Pakistan is ripping at the seams with talent. If the government ran a talent search in Pakistan, and we keep the political system as it is, and you bring in talent from within Pakistan and out from outside Pakistanis, from Pakistanis outside, I think you would come up with exceptional talent.
Exactly.
Exceptional HR, and that is the solution actually.
Okay.
The existing political infrastructure and even previous regimes should have, they must right now, and they have to focus on getting the right people for the right job.
Exactly.
I always give this example. Take a goldsmith, take a blacksmith.
Yeah.
And just as an experiment, switch the two. They both deal in metals, they both deal with fire, they both deal with hammers, they both sell some kind of a metal object.
Exactly.
And see the disaster.
All right, yeah, so what you're trying to say is that everybody needs to be on the job which they're well suited for.
Exactly.
And that's what the what governance has to do too as well. But then other than that, coming back to or discussing it from a commons man perspective, what I feel is that, for example, because there's going to be additional taxes on the petroleum prices too as well. And then other than that, do you think that because commodities prices are obviously at a trend of rising too as well, how do you think that the common man will perceive this year's budget? Do you think that it is actually going to give a little bit of relaxation, or no relaxation, or a little bit of more hard work?
I think the objective is to, from what I have been able to understand, the current government is trying to reduce the burden on the lower middle and lower class of Pakistan by structuring the tax system in a way that that it affects them less.
All right.
Now, how do they do that? It's a function of consumption.
Okay.
If they consume less, they pay less.
Yeah.
They pay less tax. So as soon as you cross a threshold, you start to pay more.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the concept.
It is the concept.
That is the concept. So now the practical...
That's something which I've seen with the electricity bills and everything too.
Exactly.
As well,
In petroleum, if you consume less petroleum, you pay less tax.
Yes.
So that's the concept. Now let's apply that practically. How will that come up? You see, right now, it boils down to the same thing that I started with. Once you start playing with the interest rates, I have in my career never seen the jacking up of interest rates as they happened in Pakistan in 16 months. This is being compared with Argentina, that the country defaulted on its loans.
Exactly.
Pakistan is nowhere near the predicament of Argentina. We were absolutely fine. Yeah, there were hemorrhages. They needed to be plugged.
Yeah.
You don't stop a car just because there's some vibration, and you stop the vibration where it's coming from.
Exactly.
The diagnosis and the solution, in any ways, I have a different solution. We've given that in our publications, which is in front of you.
But you can share that as well.
Yeah, sure.
It's perfectly fine. Go ahead.
Pakistan needed more acceleration, not less acceleration.
Okay.
And
when you say acceleration, that is in terms of?
That's in terms of economic activity.
All right.
If, just to give you an example, if there were 100 transactions going on in Pakistan in real estate, stock markets, in commodities, in every kind of, let's say if there were 100 transactions, it should have been the target of this government to say we want 120 transactions. However, we have noticed that there are hemorrhages and issues,
Yeah.
and we need to now start plugging them up.
Okay.
And for those who are in this business, they need to know that you have to get yourself documented in 16, 18 months.
Yeah.
You have to make sure that you're totally transparent. You have to avail the amnesty scheme. You have to do this, you have to do that. So you give an carrot with a stick,
Yeah.
not just a stick. Okay? So because you have to look at it practically, what's applicable,
Yeah.
because that's what's going to work.
Exactly. But then now, other than the budget, there's this one thing which came up to my head, and that is that, we, country, was actually dependent on agriculture too as well in terms of economy. We're not investing in technology. And, it is, I think, getting more difficult to actually import technological stuff within Pakistan too as well. The duties are getting higher. How do you think that, our economy is actually going to improve when we are inefficient in a few areas?
Just a bit of clarification, the increase in tariffs on imports was very specific.
Yeah.
On essential items, on essential things essential to the economy, not much has changed.
Yeah.
So to be fair, that is what's happening. However, when we start changing too many things too soon, because and while we're changing it, we're experimenting it, which is you never make such experiments
Yeah.
at the same time. 5 experiments at the same time, which leads to a blow up. So you don't need that. If we're going to, for example, focus on agriculture, increasing agriculture output per acre, whether it's the yield or crop fertility, or whether it's the reduction in losses from weather and something, that's a different debate, because once again, that comes up with, and you're going to say he keeps saying the same thing again and again, it's governance.
Yeah.
We have to have proper governance over there.
Okay.
Agriculture is huge. One of the reasons Pakistan never gets hit internationally, whether it's from a military conflict or a regional problem or from another country growing too much or going down, is because we have a breadbasket.
Okay.
We grow our own food, most of it. But having said that, we are, I think, we're running at a capacity of maybe 40%.
Okay.
We can easily double this.
Double that.
Easily.
And do you think that the budget is going to actually help us in increasing our capacity?
I don't think so. It's like it's an announcement.
Okay.
It's not a plan.
It's not a plan, it's an announcement. But towards the end, just one simple thing, and it just came across my mind, and I said that it's better that I actually ask you this as well. That is, do you think that just by taxes countries can be run?
That's a very interesting statement, because every country is run on taxes, but I know what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
In practical applications, under no circumstances, what is a tax? A tax is a cost to a person, to a citizen, to a corporate citizen or a private citizen. If taxes start to go up, your costs are going up.
Yeah.
And if those costs are going up, your business starts to suffer.
Yeah.
So your transactions will actually start to go down. Here's a simple flint. Here's a simple check. Here's a simple way of looking at something.
Go ahead.
For any government, and it's not rocket science, it's simple. Are your transactions in your country going up or down? Simple.
I think they go down.
If they're going down, there's a problem. That means either taxes are too high, the restrictions are too much, there's too much bureaucracy, there's too much red tape, or there is too much exploitation.
Yeah.
Possibly some other reason. But keeping it very simple, if any government, and I would humbly suggest to our current government, that they need to analyze this. If transactions are going to go down in the collective transactions, that means that's bad for the economy.
Exactly.
And if suddenly transactions are going up, your revenue starts to go up, you suddenly have this buffer, you have this room to play, and then you can do your experiments.
Yeah, because I think that with a lot of taxes these days as well, a lot of people are actually not investing now. They're not ready to invest probably, and with all of these amnesty schemes, I think people really need to take advantage of that. But then at the same time, I think that they will be a part of the tax net. And once you're a part of the tax net, there's no escaping, right? I think that's what it is. So for people, or probably talking about foreign direct investment in terms of transactions, do you think that this budget is actually going to help get more people into the country to invest? Or do you think that it's not going to be a paradise for people who want to bring in the FDIs?
FDI investment, portfolio investment, direct investment, something that we deal with.
Yeah.
And we actually cover it in our publication.
Exactly, and it's right here, ladies and gentlemen. So all you have to do is probably get one of yours.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Tangent, ladies and gentlemen. Faheem Sardar happens to be the managing director, and the best part is, I mean, he's got a portfolio of an economist too as well. He was the youngest ever CEO too with the Askari Securities. That was his previous portfolio.
Yeah.
But and which is why, you know, I think that these are the questions which needs to be directed to him. Yeah, go ahead.
You're very kind. If foreign investment is a function of domestic investment.
Okay.
Because I'm sorry, I'm very practical about things. One has to come with practical solutions.
That's right.
And you have to come up with simple solutions for complex problems, not more complex solutions for complex problems. That makes another complex problem. So you have to simplify. Right now, there's so much noise. When somebody says Pakistan, you hear fantastic things, and then you hear some very bad things.
Yeah.
Now, we have to reduce the noise internationally as well as domestically, starting domestically.
Yeah.
Because when you throw a small pebble in a pond of still water, first the waves go outwards.
Yeah.
Then after a while, those waves come back.
But yeah, ripple effect.
The backward ripple effect is afterwards.
Yeah.
So there's a simple, natural progression. So right now, if we want to talk about investments, we have to focus on domestic investments first. We have enough cash. And I'm going to say something very, very strange here. If we just improve our governance and simplify our structures, Pakistan will be a surplus country in 3 years.
Okay, this is what I want to talk about, ladies and gentlemen, but since it's a very interesting figure, I think this is the time to go for a short break. Don't go anywhere, because when you guys will come back, we're actually going to ask Mr. Faheem Sardar, how are we going to be in surplus in the coming 3 years, where we haven't really experienced surplus throughout my life. I mean, that's what the truth is. Let's go for a break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Good morning. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. For everybody who just got tuned into PTV World, you watch World this morning alongside Shahzad Khan. Ladies and gentlemen, today is going to be a great day for everybody because of the fact that the budget is set to be out today. And then at the same time, as a common man, I think everybody's expecting a little bit of relaxation. But other than that, so far, whatever we have discussed, I think that there are a few reservations from a common man's perspective, but in days to come, I think that they'll be sorted too as well. But before going towards the break, Mr. Faheem Sardar over here actually said that there are a few changes which he'll recommend, and that our economy can be in a surplus within the next 3 years. I mean, it sounds very interesting. It sounds very hopeful and positive, but I've never ever witnessed such a thing, hearing that our economy is in surplus. How do you think we are going to do that?
Firstly, I must say you're very polite. It also sounds like a fairy tale.
Okay? Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, you have to look at the country, you have to look at the existing potential, you have to look at the existing economic activity, and then you have to look at the problem.
Yeah.
It's like we have a few problems which are, when you compare them with these three things, they become slightly ridiculous.
Okay.
Now, Pakistan is the 6th largest country on earth.
Exactly.
In 2006, when we were facing a full-blown planned 5th generation war, which at that time I think was referred to as a 4th generation war, which has now become a 5th generation hybrid war, Goldman Sachs released a report in which it said in 2006 that Pakistan is going to be one of the leading economies, markets of the future.
Okay.
2006, mind you. That's 13 years ago.
Yeah.
Now, then they released another report. Their chief economist said that Pakistan is just waiting to take off. Okay, and this is when bombs were going off.
Yeah.
C4, we don't make C4. C4 and RDX were being blown up in Pakistan. So there's a reason I'm bringing this up, because we also we have to be very honest about our assessment. Right now, if Pakistan can improve its domestic governmental purchases,
Okay.
if Pakistan can control the 10 to 15 billion dollars that goes out of Pakistan every year into Dubai and other countries,
In
the form of outward investments.
Okay.
If Pakistan can increase its exports by 10 billion, you're in a surplus.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is, these are not outrageous things. I mean, these are things right in front of us.
Yeah.
So I'm not making it up.
No, but talking about exports, I mean, I think we've got rice, we've got salt, we've got such stuff as well. I mean, I think that, if we need to grow up according to today's trend, we probably need to invest a little in technology too as well. Probably, now just imagine, I mean, it happened to me, and I wasn't very happy about it. So I was traveling to England, I bought a new phone over there, got back, never knew that I actually have to get it registered within 2 months. One day, my phone was blocked. So yeah, I had to go to PTA and get it checked. 65,000 rupees in taxes. That quite a lot for a cell phone which is worth 190,000, maybe, probably, somewhat. And that too is because of the fact that, the dollar was at 185, pound was at 185 then. Do you think that, this is a budget designed or planned for a common man or for a country's economy to go in surplus?
As I said, this is an announcement. It's not a plan.
Yeah.
It's not, to be very fair, it's not a plan. It's an announcement that, what the government has done is it's tried to, from what I have been able to understand, they've tried to give an honest assessment. Okay, look, this is the state of affairs.
Okay.
We're not going to bring in a new budget after this.
Okay.
Because traditionally what we've seen is a very slightly difficult budget is presented, then you see amendments to it.
Yeah.
So I think they're trying to avoid the amendments. They're just trying to say, okay, look, we just said it once, not multiple times. Now, it's not for me to say what they should do, but what I think is you have to sometimes hunt with the hounds and run with the hare.
Yeah.
Because that's how life works. So at the end of the day, what the government needs to do is it needs to have a concrete plan, growth plan, which focuses on austerity, perpetual austerity, not intermittent austerity, perpetual austerity with perpetual growth.
Okay. And how do you think that's going to happen?
As I said, one word, governance.
Governance, but then there are a lot of areas where a lot of governance is required, and I don't think that we're actually at the verge of delivering the best right now.
Just to, and I'm being very honest here, no, I'm not trying to be vague here. Governance is like a star. It's like the stars that guide you the way. You're never going to reach it.
Exactly.
But if you keep following it, you keep going in the right direction.
You can get good at it.
Since we are governance trainers and everything, we've realized one thing.
Yeah.
Governance, following those stars, is actually very helpful because you know the right path.
Yeah.
But if the stars tell you that you should go straight, and you're going in the opposite direction, that means your direction is wrong.
Exactly.
So governance at least tells you very accurately what the direction is. You're never going to reach it.
But if you're aiming for the stars, if you're aiming for the moon, you'll definitely land on the stars too as well.
And
I think that's
I'm
what it
saying
is.
this very, very, I mean, I'm in my senses when I say this,
Sure.
that if proper governance is implemented, yes, Pakistan will be in a surplus. We will become a lender, not a borrower.
Well, I think, and that's what we need to be. What about local manufacturers? Do you think that they're going to benefit from this budget?
I'm not so sure because I think the government is trying to encourage growth through austerity, but what they're calling austerity and what the private sector is calling austerity, growth and austerity, they're two different things.
Okay.
For example, the government, when we talk about manufacturers, we have seen that there has been a reduction in the growth.
Yeah.
In manufacturing, it's down to I think 4.8%.
Exactly.
And from
It's
previous,
down at 0.3%.
Yeah.
0.3.
So at the end of the day, if manufacturers need an incentive to grow, and
they need a cushion. I mean, it's required.
Manufacturers in Pakistan, no matter how indigenous they are, every country on earth imports something.
Exactly.
So It just has to be seen what manufacturers are going to say.
Yeah.
Now, this budget is basically an announcement a firefighting announcement.
All right.
I keep saying it's an announcement, it's not a plan.
Okay.
A plan would be very clear. You could clearly read it and see.
And you would know, that
Yeah.
this is what we're doing.
Exactly. Now, if I can go back approximately 13 months, 14 months back, I was at a platform discussing the then budget.
Yeah.
And at that time, I said there is no austerity in that budget. There is no growth plan in that budget. And there will be another budget. And that's exactly what happened.
Exactly.
So fast forward now, we have an austerity aspect in
Yeah.
it. Okay, fine. I can't see the growth.
All right.
I can't see the growth, and I cannot see a plan. But that's easily done.
I mean, this is something which scares me as well. And for people who are actually of my age, they're venturing into new businesses. This is the time when the economy actually, the country needs to support us, for people who are venturing into new ventures too as well. Because while I was reading the indexes, I think that we really need to learn from our neighbors too as well, and there is no harm in it. So out of 140 countries, ladies and gentlemen, Pakistan ranks on 107 in terms of economy. But if you talk about our neighbor, they're a part of the G20 summit too as well, making them, within, they are within the top 20 economies throughout the world, throughout the globe. What are they doing so right that we are not able to figure out so far?
Well, they weren't, they haven't, okay, I think we need to...
yeah, because we only have
we have to, I'll try to be
left.
as concise as possible.
Yeah.
Firstly, yes, they have done some good things.
Exactly.
Number two, every policy that came out was discussed with their business community.
Okay.
Number three, our neighbor India, I think you're talking about
Yeah.
India. India has not faced a war.
Yeah.
Perpetual war of 15 years.
Exactly.
And if that happened, we have estimates in our think tank. India, there is no way on earth India could go above 3% of growth.
Okay.
They have not faced anything even remotely near what Pakistan had to face. So that factor, that war factor, is never brought into the discussion. Number four, India is being favored by America, England, and France
Okay.
for investments, for FDI, and for various other reasons. Why? Because they have geopolitical concerns. They have
Yeah.
geopolitical interests. There was a certain time, to be fair, Pakistan was experiencing the same influx of foreign capital.
Yeah.
Now, you have to look at the ground realities. Whatever good that they've done, we have to accept it. Whatever is not real, that has to be accepted. The Modi administration twice re-tinkered with their GDP growth rate. So some estimates say you have to slice off 2% in their growth rate.
Okay.
For example, if they're saying they grew at 6%, they were actually growing at 4%.
4%.
So there's a lot of tinkering going on as well.
Yeah. So the numbers are being changed.
Yes, and if you start to factor in all these things, either you take that away in their analysis or add that in our analysis.
Yeah.
So things would have been very different.
All right. Thank you very much for saying that, and thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Faheem Sardar. It was wonderful to be in conversation, and it was a very enlightening conversation for me, myself, personally as well, and the way you explain. I think it is very easy for anybody out there to understand as well. But we definitely want the best for Pakistan, ladies and gentlemen. Early morning, sitting down over here, our mission over here is to actually make you more aware of what's going on in Pakistan, and then at the same time hoping for the best. I think everybody needs to play their role, be positive, and things are definitely going to change. The situation is not that bleak. Things are going to get better. So please make sure to write to us on our Facebook page, which is with the name of World This Morning. On Twitter, it's World This Morning without a G. On Daily Motion and YouTube, it's World This Morning. The fabulous repeat is going to be at 11 p.m. tonight. Till the next time, 1, 2, 3, good morning. Thank you very much, sir.